All right, Triple L's, it is Tuesday of our last week, and as promised, I have a t shirt with a message each day, and today's says, "That's what I do. I read and I know things." That's what I do. I read and I know things. So, yesterday, we talked about things that I wanted to make sure that you knew before you left fifth grade. And the first thing that we talked about was growth mindset. So, if growth mindset is one, what's two? Reading. Two is reading. And so, I have some benefits of reading that I want to talk to you about quickly. And then I have some reading quotes that I'd like to share with you just to inspire you to keep going. I've been impressed with how you have found books that you have enjoyed this year and picked up and continued to read. And I hope that that doesn't stop, that you continue to do that. So, benefits of reading. If you just don't say, well, I like it, it's enjoyable, then why should you do it? It strengthens your writing skills. All language. The more you read, the more you understand what language sounds like, and the more you're going to be able to write it well because you're going to know what sounds good and sounds interesting because you have the experience of reading it already. It improves your memory and your focus. Think about when we're scrolling through our phones or when we're playing video games, our minds are jumping from here to there to there. And that's why sometimes it is so hard to pick up a book and just sit down and focus. But the more you do it, you're strengthening that memory of holding on to the information that you're reading and your focus, being able to focus for a long time. And that can help you in any job that you plan on going into later and in any aspect of your life. You want to be able to attend for a long time. And I see that as a weakness in us that has come from our devices and the entertainment that we have. So remember what I've talked to you about before. Start small. Put a timer on for 10 minutes and read until that timer goes off. And then next time, lengthen your time a little bit. Try 12 minutes, then bump it up. And keep bumping your time so that you are stretching your ability to focus. It enhances your imagination. You're not seeing it right in front of you in pictures, you're seeing it in words, and you're having to develop that in your mind. And so books build and imagine the ability for you to have your own imagination. It increases your vocabulary. Again, if you're reading, it's there, you're going to know it. And I see that in students that understand words and have a higher vocabulary, it's because they're readers or they have been read to. It's still good for your parents to read to you. If that's not something they do, maybe you can ask them to. I know all of us enjoy that, no matter how old we are. It expands your knowledge. What did my shirt say? That's what I do. I read and I know things. People in all of history, especially people who have not had the ability to go to school, have learned through reading. So they might not have gone to school, but they read and they read and they read. My granddad was like that. He didn't go to school. He didn't finish high school. I don't even know if he finished middle school, but he read all the time. And he read encyclopedias and dictionaries and he did the crosswords. And that's how, and he knew, I thought he knew everything. We watched Jeopardy together and he'd answer half of the questions. Um, so you know stuff by exposing yourself to that knowledge. And if you can focus and extend your ability to be able to concentrate on something, you can teach yourself how to do anything through reading. We're not just talking about things that you think of as literary things having to do with books. We're talking about mechanics. My dad was a mechanic, and he would have to go to these um, like seminars on how to do new things as it came out, and he would come home with these manuals this thick, and he needed to read that manual and understand what it was saying. So if you want to fix a washing machine or fix a lawnmower, you need to be able to read the manual and figure out what it's saying to you. And how do you do that? by reading. It stimulates your brain. Remember we talked about yesterday your brain can grow and change, and one of the things that it does that is by being exercised and used. Reading is one of those things, probably one of the most highest level things that we are able to do is to read. It uses so many different parts of the brain when you're reading. You're using your memory, you're using your visual memory by looking at the words and creating the pictures in your heads. In your head. You're using long-term memory by pulling up things that you already knew about that subject. You are using all the sound parts, your auditory, to come up with the what the word sounds like as you're saying it, even if you're not saying it out loud. There's so many things, and your brain is just being stimulated. It's just lighting up. If you had sensors showing what was going on in your brain when you're reading, it's just lighting up all over the place. And then when you have a good book that stimulates your imagination and stimulates your curiosity, then you've got more parts of your brain lighting up all over the place. It deepens empathy. And I have seen that so much in myself and in my students, that when we read about people who have gone through certain circumstances, it gives us the ability to be sympathetic towards them. The word is empathetic, though, meaning that you can feel what they feel. You can go, wow, I can kind of see what they're going through. Think about as we've read Echo and all of the different people that we have learned to be empathetic with. And all the things we've learned through that too, having to do with World War II and how the Jews were treated and so many different things. Hoxie's harmonica band, we learned about that. We learned about the court case in California of the schools that weren't equal. It helps you relax. Now, sometimes some of you, I can hear some of you now, so wouldn't it help me relax? And that may be true if you still struggle with reading. If reading is not easy for you, then it may not be relaxing now. But the more you do it, the more you will be comfortable with it, and it will be relaxing. There are days I just ache to just sit in my chair with a good book and just sit there and enjoy it. And then there are other days that I don't feel like picking up a book. And then there are days that I try this one, I just can't find anything good that I like. But when I find that one, that's all I want to do until it's finished and it's enjoyable. And I would add something to this. It gives you a sense of accomplishment when you finish. I did that. I finished that. Now look what I know. Look at the information. Look at the knowledge. Look at the empathy. Look at the imagination that I have that I didn't have before. And then the last one, it lowers stress. And again, some of you may say, well, not me. It stresses me out. Well, possibly. But like I said, as you get better at it, it does allow you to, and part of that is you are leaving your world for a moment and going into someone else's. So you can leave your stress and your chaos and your problems behind you as you step into someone else's world. And that's why a lot of people like reading, because it carries them to other places that they wouldn't be going otherwise. And I'm going to share this first quote with you. This quote is very applicable to what we're going through right now. I like this one. Reading gives us some place to go when we have to stay where we are. And that has to do with us right now, doesn't it? We have to stay where we are, and so reading gives us some place to go. Gives our minds go on a trip. We get to experience things that we can't experience physically. I cannot remember the books I've read any more than the meals I've eaten. Even so, they have made me. So just like your food makes you makes your body, the books make up who you are. And even if you can't remember all of them, they give you thoughts that you are now thinking that you wouldn't have thought before. It has done that for me in so many ways in the last few years that I've read. It has allowed me to think things that I would have never thought before and experience things I would have never experienced before. Makes me think of I'm wearing my little Prince necklace. This book, too, changes you in ways that you don't realize because you start to think about things maybe you hadn't thought about in that way before. Books. Your reward for having an attention span. I like that. If you have an attention span and you can get through a book, that's your reward. You get a reward for accomplishing something, and the experience you get through reading it is what you have because you have the attention span long enough to finish it. Okay, now this screen has quite a few. Let me see if I can scoot myself to the side a little bit and get a little bit more of this. There we go. Okay, so the first two don't have a lot of words, but this one, see, everyone is just sitting there staring, but this boy is reading. So look at all of the colorful things going on in his head. It doesn't even have to be real pictures, but it's showing his brain working and moving. Why we read. Look at this guy who's reading. This guy who's watching television, there's just a thought bubble that's like nothing in it. And that's not completely true. I know that sometimes television can make us think, but many times it's just a way for us to escape and not think. When a book will actually cause your mind to be very active. I like this one here. A book a day keeps the stupidity away. Ordinary people have big TVs. Extraordinary people have big libraries. I like that. And then this quote is from Matilda that Roald Dahl wrote. Roald Dahl's the one who wrote the BFG. And it says, all the reading she had done had given her a view of life they had never seen. And it's talking about her family. Her family that had been in the same place she had been. She was actually able to see things they were never able to see because she was reading about it and experiencing things that they weren't. And then the last two, I like this one. Let me read you what this says. It says, what an astonishing thing a book is. It is a flat object made from a tree with flexible parts on which are imprinted lots of funny, dark squiggles. But one glance at it and you're inside the mind of another person. Maybe somebody dead for thousands of years. Let's see what. Can't see that. Across the millennia, and an author is speaking clearly. There it is. Dearly and silently inside your head, directly to you. Across the millennia, an author is speaking dearly and silently inside your head, directly to you. And then the last one, this is what I'm going to leave you with. Reading can seriously damage your ignorance. And that's what we want. We do not want to stay ignorant. We want to damage our ignorance. And that is what reading has the ability to do. So I hope, 1, growth mindset. 2, reading is something that you have taken away from 5th grade with you and that you are going to continue to do that. Please, I can still give you advice on books throughout the summer. I can give you recommendations. Please ask me if you're stuck and need help finding something that you might find interesting. Stick with it today. I hope you have a wonderful day. We still have some things to finish up before the end of the week, but this is your last week. Hooray!